Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world, coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for. What if I told you that a single penny, the kind you might have ignored, dropped in a jar, or left in a drawer for decades, could be worth nearly $1 million today? No lottery ticket, no stock market gamble, just a small copper coin minted in the middle of World War II. Before you scroll away, ask yourself this: how many pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime? And more importantly, what if one of them quietly held the power to change everything? Welcome to a story that begins in 1944, when America was at war, copper was rationed, and the U.S. Mint was under pressure like never before. Factories roared, machines ran day and night, and human error, the kind that creates legends, slipped through unnoticed. In that chaos, a handful of 1944 Lincoln wheat pennies with no mint mark were struck with rare and extraordinary errors. At the time, they were worth exactly 1 cent. Today, the finest examples have reached values approaching $956,000 in the current collector market. Yes, from 1 cent to life-changing money. That's not hype. That's history. Now here's where fear quietly enters the room. Because while you're watching this video, thousands of these coins are still sitting in old coffee cans, dresser drawers, inherited collections, and forgotten boxes across America. Some are being spent at gas stations. Some are being dropped into donation jars. And some, painfully, are being thrown away. Imagine unknowingly giving away nearly $1 million for a pack of gum. That uncomfortable feeling? Good. It means you're paying attention. Let's talk about why this coin is in such extreme demand. The 1944 wheat penny without a mint mark was struck in Philadelphia, but certain error versions were produced using the wrong metal planchets, leftover dies, or misaligned strikes. These were never meant to exist. They were accidents, and in the world of elite coin collectors, accidents are priceless. Wealthy buyers don't want common coins. They want stories frozen in metal, and this coin tells a wartime story no replica can ever match. Here's a quick reset. And be honest with yourself. If a penny fell on the ground right now, would you bend over to pick it up? Most people wouldn't. And that's exactly why people miss fortunes. Opportunity rarely looks impressive at first glance. It often looks small, ordinary, and silent. The smartest collectors understand this, and they are aggressively buying rare error pennies right now, not next year, not someday, but today. This brings us to Act 2, the moment of awakening. Over the last few years, demand for historically significant U.S. coins has surged. High-net-worth collectors, investment groups, and private buyers are competing for fewer and fewer authenticated examples. Once these coins enter long-term collections, they disappear from the open market, sometimes for decades. That shrinking supply is why prices have climbed so dramatically and why urgency matters more now than ever before. And let's pause for a moment of excitement. Because this isn't about ancient treasure buried overseas. This is American history, your parents' history, your grandparents' history, coins they used to buy bread, newspapers, and coffee, coins that may still be in your possession right now. This isn't fantasy wealth. This is hidden wealth. Now we enter Act 3, the turning point, the realization that this story is no longer about the past. It's about you. If you own old pennies, inherited a collection, or have jars that haven't been opened in years, you are holding potential leverage. The difference between people who stay curious and people who stay broke is simple. One group checks, the other assumes. Here's the truth successful sellers understand. You don't need thousands of coins. You need the right one. And the 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny with rare error characteristics is among the most aggressively sought-after U.S. coins in existence. When authenticated and graded, elite examples have commanded prices that redefine what spare change really means. Let me ask you something, slightly humorous but deadly serious. If Abraham Lincoln himself could speak from that penny, do you think he'd say, "Spend me on candy?" Or "Get me professionally evaluated immediately"? Exactly. This is a market driven by confidence, timing, and awareness. The buyers are ready. The money is real. And the window does not stay open forever. Every year, fewer coins remain undiscovered, and every year demand rises. That is not speculation. That is how rare markets behave. So here's your final thought. Wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers from a drawer, a box, or a jar you haven't touched in years. The 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny is not just a coin. It's a reminder that extraordinary value often hides in ordinary places, waiting for the right person to recognize it. Picture this for a moment. A single penny. Not gold, not silver, not flashy. Just one small copper coin that may be sitting right now in a jar, a drawer, or an old coffee can in your home. And yet, that penny has been valued at $844,000. Yes, nearly $1 million for a coin that once bought nothing more than a stick of gum. If your heart just skipped a beat, good. Because what you're about to hear could permanently change the way you look at every penny you've ever ignored. This is not hype. This is not fantasy. This is the documented reality of the 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny, a coin struck at a turning point in American history, carrying a rare error that has made it one of the most aggressively hunted coins in the U.S. market today. And here's the part that should concern you slightly. Many people unknowingly spend or discard these coins every single year. Imagine throwing away a winning lottery ticket because you didn't know how to read it. Now let me ask you something and be honest. When was the last time you actually looked closely at a penny? Not glanced at it, looked at it. Because if your answer is, I don't remember, you're not alone. And that's exactly why serious collectors are quietly becoming wealthy while others remain unaware of what they already own. Funny how opportunity doesn't knock loudly, isn't it? Sometimes it whispers from the bottom of a coin. To understand why this penny is worth so much, we have to go back to 1946, a year that reshaped America. World War II had just ended. The economy was shifting. Factories were retooling. The U.S. Mint was under pressure to meet demand, and when pressure rises, mistakes happen. And in the world of coin collecting, mistakes are where fortunes are made. The 1946 wheat penny was struck in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But the one that matters most is the one with no mint mark at all. That absence alone already places it in a different category. But the true value lies in specific minting errors. Errors so subtle that the untrained eye would never notice them, yet so powerful that collectors will pay life-changing money to own one. This is where fear enters the story. Because if you've ever handled a 1946 penny without checking for these errors, you may have unknowingly let go of something extraordinary. Double die obverse, off-center strikes, planchet errors, misaligned dies. Each one tells a story of a moment when perfection broke, and rarity was born. And rarity in this market equals power. Here's the exciting part. The highest valued 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny, graded in pristine condition with a confirmed major error, has reached a current market valuation of $844,000. Not hypothetical, not one day maybe. Current market value. And demand is not slowing down. In fact, it's accelerating. Why? Because wealthy collectors, investment funds, and elite numismatists understand something most people don't. Rare coins are no longer just collectibles, they are hard assets. They don't crash like stocks. They don't inflate away like cash. They sit quietly, appreciating, while the rest of the world argues about the economy. And when supply is fixed and demand keeps rising, prices have only one direction to go. Let me break the tension for a second with a simple thought. If a penny can be worth $844,000, what does that say about the pennies you haven't checked yet? Exactly. Suddenly, that coffee can doesn't seem so boring anymore. Now we enter the second act of our story, the realization phase. This is where curiosity turns into urgency. Because coins like this are not being discovered anymore at scale. Most are already in collections. The few that remain are hiding in plain sight, in estates, inherited collections, forgotten boxes, and yes, everyday homes. And every year, fewer remain undiscovered. Collectors are actively searching. Auction houses are advertising aggressively. Private buyers are paying premiums quietly, off the public radar. Why? Because once a coin like this surfaces and is properly authenticated, it doesn't sit around waiting. It moves, fast, sometimes within hours. And here's a question that snaps attention back. What would $844,000 change in your life? Retirement? Debt freedom? Travel? Generational wealth? Because this isn't about greed. This is about recognizing value when it's already in your possession. Let's talk lifestyle for a moment. Wealthy individuals don't chase money, they recognize assets. They don't gamble, they verify. And they don't ignore small things, because they understand that extraordinary value often hides in ordinary places. That mindset alone separates those who struggle financially from those who live with freedom and confidence. This penny represents more than money. It represents awareness. It represents timing. And most importantly, it represents action. Because knowing about it without doing anything is the same as not knowing at all. Now, in the final act of this story, everything connects. History, rarity, demand, timing, and you, right now, watching this video, at a moment when the rare coin market is hotter than ever, when collectors are paying record prices, and when opportunities like this are quietly closing. There is no downside to checking your coins. There is only risk in ignoring them. Because once these remaining examples are found, authenticated, and locked into private collections, that's it. The door closes, prices rise, and the conversation shifts from, "Could I have had one?" to "I wish I had known." So here's the takeaway, simple, powerful, and positive. That old 1946 wheat penny with no mint mark is not just spare change. It is a potential key to financial elevation, a bridge between the past and a more abundant future. And it demands respect, attention, and decisive action. Before you scroll away, before you dismiss this as unlikely, remember this. Every major discovery in coin history was once owned by someone who didn't know what they had, until they looked closer. And the smartest move you can make today is to look. Imagine this. A coin so ordinary it once bought a loaf of bread, now powerful enough to buy freedom. What if the next life-changing asset isn't on Wall Street, isn't crypto, isn't real estate, but is sitting quietly in a jar, a drawer, or a dusty box in your home? Stay with me, because the 1948 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny has shocked seasoned collectors, rewritten price guides, and, yes, has been associated with elite error examples commanding values reported as high as $834,000. And here's the uncomfortable question. What if you already own one and don't even know it? The year is 1948. The nation is rebuilding after World War II. Steel has value. Copper has value. Precision matters. The U.S. Mint is under pressure to produce billions of coins quickly. And when pressure meets speed, mistakes happen. That's when legends are born. The 1948 wheat penny without a mint mark, struck in Philadelphia, looks harmless at first glance. Abraham Lincoln stares forward like he has for decades. Wheat stalks frame the reverse. Nothing flashy, no drama, until you look closer, much closer. This is where excitement kicks in, because certain 1948 pennies were born with dramatic minting errors that should never have escaped the mint. And yet they did, like a secret slipping past a locked door. Now here's the part that makes people nervous, in a good way. Errors don't announce themselves. They hide in plain sight. Off-metal strikes, dramatic die breaks, doubling so bold it looks like the coin is vibrating. Coins struck on the wrong planchet entirely. These aren't maybe mistakes. These are undeniable, museum-level anomalies. And when one of these 1948 no-mint mark error pennies surfaces in elite condition, the market doesn't whisper. It roars. Collectors don't negotiate gently. They compete aggressively. Because coins like this don't come back once they're locked into private collections. Miss it once and you may never see it again. That's where fear creeps in. The fear of overlooking a fortune because it looked ordinary. It is not patient. It is hungry. Wealthy collectors, hedge fund-level investors, and legacy buyers are moving capital into tangible assets. Rare coins are portable wealth, silent wealth, and historically proven wealth. The demand for elite U.S. error coins has exploded, especially for mid-century wheat cents with dramatic, verifiable anomalies. This is why reported valuations for top-tier 1948 no-mint mark error pennies have climbed into headline-grabbing territory. Figures approaching $834,000 for the right coin, authenticated, graded, and fiercely contested. That's not hype. That's what happens when scarcity meets desire and money is no longer the obstacle. Here's a quick pattern interrupt. Ready? If you've ever thrown pennies into a Coinstar machine, don't panic. Just kidding. Actually, maybe panic a little. Because stories circulate every year of families discovering six-figure and seven-figure coins after decades of ignoring them. The humor fades fast when you realize how close fortune can be. The truth is, most people never check. They assume pennies are worthless. That assumption is exactly why the opportunity still exists. The smart money doesn't follow assumptions. It follows anomalies. Now let me connect something important. This isn't just about a coin. This is about leverage. A single authenticated 1948 no-mint mark error penny can change the trajectory of a family, can eliminate debt, fund retirement, create generational wealth. And here's the urgency. The window is tightening. As more collectors become educated and more coins are professionally graded, the number of undiscovered examples shrinks. Prices don't drift downward when supply disappears. They surge. Waiting doesn't protect you. Waiting risks being last. Imagine holding a coin that survived post-war America, escaped the mint by mistake, sat unnoticed for decades, and now stands at the center of one of the most aggressive collector markets in U.S. history. That's not luck. That's timing. And timing favors those who act decisively. The wealthy lifestyle people dream about rarely arrives through dramatic lottery moments. It often arrives through quiet assets that suddenly wake up. Rare coins are waking up. Here's the empowering truth. You don't need thousands of coins. You need one extraordinary one. And the 1948 no-mint mark wheat penny with the right error is among the most watched, hunted, and demanded Lincoln cents in the market today. This is why professional buyers are actively searching. This is why auctions see bidding wars instead of bargains. This is why values are being reset in real time. And this is why you should never underestimate what's already in your possession. So before you dismiss that old jar, that inherited collection, that forgotten roll of pennies, pause, look again, because the next chapter of your financial story might already be written in copper. And in a market where elite coins are commanding attention, respect, and serious money, the real question isn't whether these coins are valuable. The real question is whether you'll recognize value before someone else does. Stay alert, stay curious, and remember, wealth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers from the smallest coin in the room. Imagine this. Somewhere in America right now, a single penny is quietly sitting in a jar, a drawer, or maybe even your pocket. And that penny is worth more than most people's homes. No exaggeration, no hype. Just history, rarity, and demand colliding at the perfect moment. Today we are uncovering the astonishing story of the 1950 wheat penny, a coin so misunderstood, so underestimated, yet so powerful that verified examples with rare errors have reached values approaching $911,000. Yes, nearly $1 million for a 1-cent coin. And here's the unsettling question that should stop you cold for a second. What if you already own one and don't even know it? This is not a fantasy story. This is American history hiding in plain sight. In the post-World War II boom, when families were rebuilding and optimism filled the air, the United States Mint in Denver produced the 1950 wheat penny in shockingly low numbers. At the time, no one cared. Pennies were pennies. They bought candy, sat in ashtrays, and disappeared into couch cushions. But today, that same penny has become one of the most aggressively hunted Lincoln cents in the entire U.S. coin market. And collectors? They are not patient people when rarity meets opportunity. Now let's pause for a quick reality check. How many times have you heard someone say, "It's just a penny"? Funny how those are often the same people who never check their change. Humor aside, this exact mindset is why life-changing coins slip through fingers every single day. The 1950 wheat penny is a master of disguise. To the untrained eye, it looks ordinary. To experienced collectors, it's a sleeping giant. Here's where the story shifts into high gear. The real money isn't just in the coin itself. The real power lies in rare minting errors that were never supposed to exist. Coins with dramatic die cracks, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, double dies, or abnormal metal composition are the ones commanding jaw-dropping prices. These errors transform an already scarce coin into a once-in-a-generation discovery. And when condition meets error, that's when bidding wars erupt. That's when numbers stop making sense. That's when six figures quietly turn into seven. Collectors don't chase coins like this casually. They chase them with urgency. Demand is relentless because supply is essentially frozen in time. The Denver Mint is not making more 1950 wheat pennies. Every year, fewer survive in pristine condition. Every year, more disappear into permanent private collections. And every year, the price pressure increases. This is basic economics, but with adrenaline. Let's be honest for a moment. If someone told you a dusty old penny could help fund your retirement, pay off your mortgage, or unlock a wealthier lifestyle, you'd probably laugh until you saw the auction results. Then the laughter stops. Then the fear kicks in. The fear of missing out. The fear of having already spent something priceless. And that fear is justified. Here's the part most people get wrong. They assume these coins are already found. They assume collectors have everything locked away. That's simply not true. New error coins surface every year from estate sales, inherited collections, and forgotten jars. Ordinary Americans are still discovering extraordinary wealth in the most ordinary places. And the window to act is closing faster than most realize. Now let's talk about lifestyle, because this isn't just about coins. This is about leverage. Rare coins are one of the few tangible assets where knowledge can instantly outperform money. You don't need to be wealthy to find a valuable penny. You just need awareness, timing, and the confidence to verify what you have. That's how fortunes quietly begin. Not with noise, but with precision. And here's a pattern interrupt for you. Ready? If pennies were truly worthless, collectors wouldn't be flying across the country, paying premiums, and competing aggressively over fractions of copper. Funny how worthless objects cause million-dollar arguments. Makes you wonder what else people overlook, doesn't it? As we move toward the final act of this story, understand this clearly. The market for rare U.S. pennies is not slowing down. It is accelerating. Wealthy collectors, investment funds, and legacy buyers are aggressively acquiring historically significant coins. The 1950 wheat penny, especially with confirmed errors, sits squarely in the crosshairs of this demand. When a coin reaches the psychological threshold of near million-dollar value, it stops being a hobby and starts being a serious financial instrument. This is your moment of decision. Not tomorrow, not someday, right now. Every day you wait is another day prices climb and opportunities disappear. Check your collections. Check your family's collections. Learn what you're holding, because the difference between curiosity and action is often measured in hundreds of thousands of dollars. The truth is powerful, and here it is. Wealth doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers from a penny jar. Sometimes it waits 75 years to be recognized. And sometimes it's already in your possession, waiting for you to take it seriously. If the story sparked excitement, urgency, or even a little fear, that's good. Those emotions exist to wake you up. The 1950 wheat penny is not just a coin. It's a reminder that opportunity favors the informed. And the informed, they act. Because somewhere out there, a single cent is changing lives. And the next one could be yours. Imagine reaching into a dusty old jar, pulling out a single penny, and realizing it could change the rest of your life. Not $10, not 10,000, but a coin that collectors whisper about. A coin connected to a headline-grabbing valuation approaching $900,000. Before you dismiss that as impossible, let me ask you a simple question. How many pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? And what if just one of them was never meant to exist? Today, we're uncovering the hidden power of the 1953 wheat penny, a coin that has ignited serious demand, intense competition, and life-changing opportunities for those who recognized its value before everyone else did. This story begins in 1953 at the Denver Mint, during a time when America was rebuilding, innovating, and unknowingly creating some of the most valuable mistakes in U.S. coinage history. Pennies were struck by the millions, rushed through production, and inspected by human eyes, not computers. And that's where destiny stepped in. Because when speed meets pressure, errors happen. Tiny variations, microscopic misalignments, metal anomalies, imperfections so rare that decades later, elite collectors would pay extraordinary sums just to own one. And yes, the 1953 DeWitt penny error sits squarely in that category. Now here's where the excitement starts to build. While most 1953 D pennies are worth only a few cents, a very small number were struck with dramatic mint errors, errors so visually striking and historically important that they transformed a 1-cent coin into a six-figure obsession. Coins with off-metal strikes, dramatic die errors, or extraordinary preservation have fueled market conversations that push values into territory most people never associate with a penny. And when collectors talk about examples commanding valuations reported as high as $901,000, attention changes instantly. Because at that level, this is no longer a hobby. This is wealth. Let's pause for a second, because this is usually the moment people laugh and say, "Come on, it's just a penny." And that reaction, that's exactly why opportunity exists. Every major financial breakthrough starts as something most people overlook. Real estate investors saw empty land. Stock investors saw boring numbers. Coin collectors saw history locked in copper. The humor is, the same people who once ignored these coins now wish they had paid attention when they still had them in a drawer. As we move deeper into this story, fear enters the picture. Not negative fear, but awareness. Fear of missing out. Fear of unknowingly spending something priceless. Because these coins are still out there. They haven't all been found. Many sit in inherited collections, estate boxes, or old rolls that haven't been examined in decades. And every year, fewer remain undiscovered. Demand rises. Supply shrinks. That's not hype, that's economics. Collectors today aren't just buying coins. They're buying legacy. They want provenance, rarity, and bragging rights. Owning a top-tier 1953 DeWitt penny error places someone in an elite circle. And when demand reaches that level, prices don't gently rise, they jump. That's why serious buyers move quickly, quietly, and decisively. And that's also why sellers who wait too long often regret not acting when the market heat was strongest. Here's a quick attention reset. If Abraham Lincoln were alive today, do you think he'd approve of being worth nearly $1 million on a penny? Probably not. But collectors? They absolutely do. And they're willing to prove it with real money. Now we enter the final act, where everything connects. This isn't just about a coin. It's about awareness. About realizing that wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it's small. Sometimes it's old. Sometimes it's been sitting quietly, waiting for the right moment and the right person to recognize its power. People who sell rare pennies at the right time don't just gain money. They gain freedom. Freedom to travel, to invest, to upgrade their lifestyle, to turn forgotten history into modern opportunity. And here's the urgency you need to feel right now. The market is watching. Grading standards are tightening. Top collectors are competing harder than ever. Once a truly exceptional 1953 D-era penny is certified and absorbed into a private collection, it may not resurface for decades, if ever. That means the window doesn't stay open forever. Knowledge creates advantage, but action creates results. As so, if you or your family own old pennies, wheat cents, or inherited coin collections, this is not the time to assume they're ordinary. This is the time to look closer, to get expert eyes on what you have. Because the next life-changing coin story doesn't start at an auction house. It starts in someone's home, with someone who decided to pay attention. The 1953 DeWitt penny isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that history rewards those who recognize value before the crowd does. And for those ready to step into that opportunity, the demand has never been stronger, and the stakes have never been higher. Most people walk past fortunes every single day, and never even bend down to look. Somewhere in America right now, a small copper coin is sitting quietly in a drawer, a coffee jar, or an old toolbox. It doesn't shine. It doesn't scream for attention. Yet if the right eyes recognize it, that one small penny could be worth over $800,000. Yes, $812,000. And here's the unsettling part. This exact coin has already been found before, and it can still be found again. So before you scroll, before you dismiss this as just another coin video, ask yourself one question. What if the most valuable thing you own is something you've never taken seriously? This story begins in 1954, in the heart of the United States Mint, during an era of booming post-war optimism. America was building, expanding, investing, and minting millions of pennies for everyday use. Among them was the humble Lincoln wheat penny, struck with a D mint mark in Denver. At the time, it was just another cent. Nothing special, nothing glamorous, the kind of coin people dropped in fountains or lost between couch cushions. But history has a strange way of hiding treasure in plain sight, and 1954 was about to leave behind one of the most extraordinary numismatic accidents ever recorded. Now here's where things get interesting and a little uncomfortable. Because not all 1954 D wheat pennies are valuable. In fact, most are worth only a few cents. But a very small number were struck with a critical mint error, the kind of mistake that was never supposed to leave the mint. A dramatic doubling, misalignment, or die anomaly so rare that collectors today compete fiercely for ownership. When one of these error coins surfaced, experts confirmed it was authentic, and the auction world stopped breathing. The final valuation? $812,000. Let that number sink in. That's not lottery luck. That's knowledge. Here's the fear most people don't like to talk about. Millions of Americans inherited coins from parents, grandparents, even great-grandparents, and unknowingly spent them at face value. Can you imagine using an $812,000 penny to buy a cup of coffee? Painful, isn't it? And yet it happens more often than anyone wants to admit. That's why this conversation matters. Because once you know what to look for, ignorance is no longer an excuse. It's a choice. Because the 1954 D wheat penny error is not locked away in a museum. It's not owned exclusively by billionaires. It was found in circulation, passed through ordinary hands. It lived ordinary lives before being recognized. That means there is still possibility, still opportunity, still discovery waiting for someone who understands the signals. And the collectors who understand this are not casual hobbyists. These are serious buyers, private investors, high-net-worth collectors, people who think in decades, not days. People who don't ask, is it expensive? They ask, how rare is it? And can I own it? Let me reset your attention for a second with a simple question. If someone offered you $812,000, but only if you checked your old coins tonight, would you do it? Of course you would. And yet, most people won't. Not because they don't want wealth, but because they underestimate what they already have. That's the irony. The wealthy don't always chase new opportunities. They recognize hidden ones. What makes this coin so powerful in today's market is not just the error itself. It's timing. The demand for rare American coins has surged as investors move away from unstable assets and into tangible history. Coins like the 1954 D wheat penny error are finite. No more will ever be made. Every year, more are lost, damaged, or melted. Scarcity increases. Demand increases. Value follows. This is why the current market valuation has climbed to the $812,000 range, and why serious collectors are actively hunting for the next one to surface. Not manufactured. Not hype. As the collector base ages and estates are liquidated, rare coins are being absorbed into private vaults, never to be seen again. When supply disappears, prices don't rise gently. They leap. If you're holding one of these coins and don't know it, time is not neutral. Time is either working for you or against you. Now comes the moment of clarity, Act 3, where everything connects. This isn't just about a penny. It's about awareness. It's about legacy. It's about realizing that wealth doesn't always announce itself with noise and flash. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it weighs just 3.11 grams. And sometimes it sits quietly, waiting for the person wise enough to recognize its value. Imagine the shift in your life if you discovered that a coin you inherited was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Imagine the freedom, the security, the ability to live not just comfortably, but intentionally. That's why people who understand rare coins don't treat them as hobbies. They treat them as assets, as leverage, as opportunity frozen in metal. And here's the final truth, the one most people miss. The 1954 D wheat penny error didn't become valuable because it was old. It became valuable because someone paid attention, because someone asked the right questions, because someone refused to assume that ordinary meant worthless. That same choice is available to you right now. So before this video ends, let this thought stay with you. The difference between those who discover hidden wealth and those who never do is not luck. It's curiosity, it's respect for history, and it's the courage to look twice at something everyone else ignores. Because sometimes, the smallest coin can change the entire direction of a life. Imagine this for a moment. You reach into an old drawer, a dusty jar, or a forgotten box in your basement. You pull out a single penny, just one. It looks ordinary, brown, small, almost invisible in today's cashless world. And yet, what if that one penny was worth $918,000? Not someday, not in theory, but in today's real active collector market. Stay with me because the 1955 no-mint mark 1-cent wheat penny error is not just a coin. It's a financial wake-up call hiding in plain sight. Most people walk past pennies every day without a second glance. They leave them on sidewalks, toss them into jars, or let them vanish into couch cushions like spare change doesn't matter anymore. And that's exactly why this story matters. Because wealth rarely announces itself. It whispers. And in 1955, the U.S. Mint accidentally whispered one of the loudest opportunities in American coin history. If you've ever held an old penny and thought, this can't be worth much, you may want to pause and think again. Let's rewind to post-war America. The year is 1955. The economy is booming. Families are optimistic. Cars are shiny. Television is new. And deep inside the U.S. Mint, something extraordinary happens. A small batch of 1-cent wheat pennies leaves the presses with a dramatic minting error. No mint mark. A striking visual anomaly that instantly sets these coins apart. At the time, no alarms sounded. No headlines were written. The coins entered circulation quietly, mixing with millions of ordinary cents. And that's the twist. Because the greatest treasures are often released unnoticed. Here's where the story takes a turn. Years later, collectors began to realize what had happened. The error wasn't cosmetic. It wasn't damage. It was a legitimate mint mistake, rare, authentic, and impossible to recreate. And suddenly, the 1955 no-mint mark wheat penny transformed from pocket change into a six-figure obsession. Today, elite collectors don't just want this coin. They compete for it. They chase it. They pay staggering sums to own one. In top condition, verified examples have reached market values around $918,000, and demand remains fierce. Now let me ask you something important and be honest. Have you ever inherited old coins? A father's collection? A grandfather's drawer? A coffee can full of wheat pennies that might be worth something someday? If so, congratulations. You may already be closer to life-changing money than you think. And if you're laughing right now thinking, sure, and my penny will buy me a yacht, that reaction is exactly why so many valuable coins are still hiding in plain sight. Humor aside, history proves one thing clearly. Dismissing small things is expensive. This is the moment where fear quietly enters the room. Fear of missing out. Fear of realizing too late that something you once owned, spent, or ignored could have rewritten your financial story. Because these coins are not increasing in supply. They are disappearing into private vaults, collections, and long-term holdings. Every year, fewer are available. Every year, demand grows stronger. And every year, sellers who waited too long realize they should have acted sooner. But here's the exciting part. You don't need to be a millionaire to participate in this market. You just need awareness, timing, and the courage to take action. The people who profit most from rare coins are not always lifelong collectors. Often, they are everyday Americans who asked one better question than everyone else. What if this is worth more than I think? That single question has unlocked financial freedom for families across the country. Let's talk lifestyle for a moment. Because selling a rare penny like the 1955 no-mint mark wheat cent isn't just about money. It's about options. It's about paying off a home, traveling without limits, helping children or grandchildren start life without debt. It's about waking up knowing that something small from your past created abundance in your present. That's not luck. That's leverage. And yes, I'll say it plainly. The market for rare US pennies is hot. Serious buyers are actively searching. Auction houses, private collectors, and investment groups are all competing for top examples. This is not a quiet niche anymore. It's a sophisticated, high-demand market fueled by history, scarcity, and wealth preservation. When a coin like this becomes available, attention follows fast. And when attention follows fast, prices respond. Here's another quick pattern interrupt. The pennies are worthless. Why do billionaires collect them? Exactly. The joke writes itself. Smart money understands that rarity plus demand equals power. And the 1955 no-mint mark wheat penny sits comfortably at that intersection. As we move toward the final act of this story, the message becomes clear. This is not about hype. It's about recognition. The recognition that America's past still pays in the present. The recognition that value is often hidden in the familiar. And the recognition that those who act decisively are rewarded. If you own old pennies, especially wheat cents from the 1950s, now is the time to look again, with respect, curiosity, and intention. Because somewhere, in a jar or a box or a forgotten envelope, a small copper coin may be waiting to change everything. And the only real risk left is doing nothing. So don't ignore the whisper. Don't assume small means insignificant. History has already proven otherwise. The 1955 no-mint mark 1-cent wheat penny stands as a powerful reminder that wealth doesn't always come in stacks of cash. Sometimes it comes disguised as a penny. Imagine discovering a single penny in a dusty old coin album that could change your life forever. Hi and welcome. If you've ever stared at an old coin and wondered, could this be worth millions? Then stay with me, because what you're about to learn could be the most important thing you hear all year. Today we're uncovering one of the most valuable and elusive coins in American numismatic history, the 1957 D-Mint mark 1-cent wheat penny error, a coin so rare that examples have been valued at over $934,000 in the current collector market. Yes, you heard that right. Not $934, but $934,000. And I'm going to peel back the mystery around this coin, show you why collectors are desperate to own it, and reveal what could make someone like you hold the next $1,000,000 coin in your very own hands. So if you've been keeping old pennies, jars of change, or bags of coins in the attic, you're about to wish you looked at them sooner. Now, before we dive deeper, let me ask you a question. What if the next coin you touch is worth more than your car? And no, that's not hyperbole. That thought alone should make anyone's heart skip a beat. To understand the magic behind this coin, we first have to understand what makes it different. The 1957 D wheat penny was minted in Denver during a time when Lincoln cents were everyday change, the kind of coins you'd barely glance at in your pocket. But in rare instances, a mistake during the minting process produced coins with a struck-through error or abnormal mint mark, something most collectors dismiss as a defect, but which serious numismatists hunt like treasure. Think about that for a moment. Ordinary pennies produced by the tens of millions suddenly become once-in-a-lifetime finds when the mint accidentally makes a coin no one ever intended to exist. It's the same reason why collectors pay hundreds for baseball cards no one remembers. It's not just metal or cardboard. It's rarity, story, and history. Now here's where it gets intense. This coin didn't just survive for nearly 70 years. It escaped destruction among a sea of ordinary cents. It has a story, and collectors know that story drives value. The difference between a common 1957 D penny and this error variant is like the difference between finding a grain of sand on the beach and discovering a diamond at the bottom of the ocean. Rare, precious, life-altering. Imagine the fear and regret someone feels when they accidentally toss one into circulation, or worse, fold it into a craft project. We're not talking about a few extra dollars here. We're talking about nearly $1,000,000 tied to what most people see as a scrap metal relic. And here's something that should make you laugh just a bit. The very penny that could make someone wealthy was once considered small change. That's right. A coin that could be worth more than many homes started life as something you could buy gum with. So here's the truth: every coin owner needs to feel deep in their bones. This isn't a story about a coin that might be valuable someday. It's a market that's alive right now, with serious collectors willing to pay six figures and beyond for the right piece. The demand for rare error coins, especially anything tied to the wheat penny era, has exploded in recent years. Serious investors treat these coins like gold, often paying premiums most people wouldn't believe. And while not every old penny is worth a fortune, only one truly rare coin is needed to change someone's life overnight. If you're holding old pennies from family collections, estate finds, or boxes left untouched for decades, don't let skepticism rob you of opportunity. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is knowing what to look for. A mint mark that shouldn't be there. A misstrike that shouldn't exist. A detail so small that most eyes simply miss it, until someone trained, hungry, and expert sees it and instantly knows its worth. Picture this. A single coin once lost in time, now standing between you and a life you've dreamed about. Financial freedom, respect, legacy, and security. And here's the real kicker. Time is not on your side. Every day that passes, more rare coins get hidden in collections, passed down, or worse, thrown away because their owners didn't know what they truly were. The window to act is right now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, today. So I challenge you, yes, you, to take a look at your old pennies. Examine them with knowledge. Inspect mint marks. Study anomalies. Because the next coin of a lifetime might already be sitting in your drawer. Today you heard the story of a coin most people overlook. A coin that could be worth $934,000. A coin that proves rarity plus timing plus knowledge equals life-changing opportunity. If that doesn't get your heart racing, pause and think about everything it could mean if the next coin you find is the one. That's excitement. That's possibility. That's opportunity knocking. So go check your change. Dig into those old collections. Don't let doubt or hesitation stop you from discovering what could be the most valuable thing you own. Your next fortune might just be one penny away. Imagine reaching into a dusty old jar, the kind that's been sitting quietly in your house for decades, and pulling out a single penny. A penny most people would ignore, spend, or toss aside without a second thought. But what if that one small copper coin was worth more than a luxury home, more than a lifetime of savings, more than most people earn in decades? What if I told you that right now, in the United States, a 1958 D wheat penny with a rare error has been spoken about in elite collector circles, with numbers climbing as high as $879,000. And here's the part that should stop you cold. Many of these coins were never destroyed. They were spent. They were saved. And they may still be out there. Maybe even with you. Before you dismiss that as fantasy, let me ask you a question that might make you a little uncomfortable. How many pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? And how many did you actually look at? Exactly. That quiet discomfort you're feeling right now, that's not fear. That's awareness waking up. Because history shows us something fascinating. The biggest financial opportunities are often hiding in plain sight, disguised as ordinary objects, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. In 1958, America was booming. Eisenhower was president, Elvis was dominating the airwaves, and the wheat penny was nearing the end of its historic run. The Denver Mint struck millions of 1-cent coins that year, and most were entirely ordinary. But a very small number were not. A tiny fraction left the mint carrying dramatic errors. Errors so rare and so visually striking that today they sit at the top of collectors' want lists, whispered about at private auctions and fiercely contested behind closed doors. This isn't hype. This is how wealth moves quietly. Here's where the story takes a turn. Coin errors are not damage. They are accidents frozen in time, mechanical mistakes that can never be repeated again in exactly the same way. And the 1958 D wheat penny error sits in a category that serious collectors call once in a generation. Alignment issues, doubled features, striking anomalies, details so bold that even non-collectors can see something is different. And when demand collides with extreme scarcity, price becomes almost irrelevant. The market doesn't ask, is it expensive? The market asks, can we even find one? Now let's reset your attention for a moment with a little humor, because this part matters. Imagine buying a coffee for 1 cent in 1958 and accidentally tipping the barista with a coin that could one day be worth nearly $1 million. Painful, right? But that exact scenario has already happened. Over and over again. Rare coins don't announce themselves. They slip through fingers quietly, unless someone knows better. And today, you are becoming someone who knows better. What makes this moment urgent is not just the value, it's timing. The generation that saved wheat pennies in jars, drawers, and envelopes is aging. Estates are being settled. Collections are being liquidated. And high-net-worth collectors are aggressively hunting for trophy coins that they can park wealth into, the same way others park money into art or real estate. When whispers circulate of a 1958 D-era penny commanding valuations reported as high as $879,000, it sends a shockwave through the numismatic world. Demand tightens, phones start ringing, and coins that surface don't stay available for long. This is where fear and excitement meet, and where smart decisions are made. Fear, because every day a rare penny sits unidentified. It risks being lost forever, sold for face value, or damaged beyond recovery. Excitement, because the upside is life-altering. This is not about getting rich slowly. This is about discovering that wealth may already belong to you. It's just waiting to be recognized. Let's be very clear and very positive here. Owning a rare coin does not make you lucky. Recognizing its value and acting decisively makes you wise. The people who succeed in this space are not gamblers. They are observers. They understand that the rare coin market rewards patience, knowledge, and timing. And right now, timing is on the side of sellers who hold authentic, high-grade era coins from iconic years like 1958. If you're watching this and thinking, I've got old pennies somewhere, that's not a coincidence. That's intuition tapping you on the shoulder. This is your reminder not to ignore it. Because the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary financial moment is often one decision made with clarity instead of doubt. And the market does not wait for hesitation. It rewards action. So here's the powerful truth that connects everything you've heard today. That small copper coin is not small at all. It's history, it's scarcity, it's leverage. And in a world where people are desperately searching for new ways to build wealth, the rare coin market is quietly transferring enormous sums of money to those who already hold the assets, often without realizing it. The question isn't whether rare pennies are in demand. They are. The question is whether you will be the person who recognizes what you have before someone else does. Because once a 1958 D wheat penny error surfaces and is verified, the conversation changes instantly, from curiosity to competition. And competition is where prices explode. Stay alert, stay curious, and above all, don't underestimate the power of what's already in your possession. Sometimes, the doorway to a wealthy lifestyle isn't found in chasing something new. It's found in finally understanding the value of something old. Imagine holding something so small, so ordinary, that you've seen it 1,000 times. Yet it has the power to completely change your financial future. A single penny, 1 cent, the kind most people drop on the ground without a second thought. Now imagine discovering that this very penny, quietly resting in a drawer, a jar, or an old envelope, could be worth $915,000. Not someday, not in theory, right now. If that doesn't grab your attention, ask yourself this. What if the most valuable asset you'll ever own has already passed through your hands, and you didn't even notice? This is not hype. This is not fantasy. This is the true story of the 1958 United States 1-cent wheat penny with no mint mark, a coin so rare, so demanded, that elite collectors compete fiercely for the privilege of owning one. And here's the part most people don't realize. This coin looks almost identical to millions of others. That's what makes it dangerous, and exciting, and urgent, because while the world is busy chasing the next big thing, quiet fortunes are being discovered by people who simply know what to look for. Let's take a step back to 1958. America was booming. Families were growing. Cars were bigger. Dreams were bold. The U.S. Mint was striking millions of wheat pennies, never imagining that a tiny production anomaly would one day create a six-figure, and now nearly seven-figure legend. Somewhere in that process, a handful of pennies were struck in a way they were never supposed to be. No mint mark, perfect timing, absolute rarity. And just like that, history was sealed. Or rather, hidden. Here's where things get interesting. These pennies didn't get locked away in vaults. They didn't go straight to museums. They went into circulation, grocery stores, gas stations, change jars. That means, statistically speaking, there is a real possibility right now that someone watching this video has already handled one. And here's a question that might sting just a little. How many pennies have you spent without ever looking twice? Don't worry, you're not alone. Most people never check. That's why this opportunity still exists. Now let's talk value, because this is where excitement turns into urgency. A verified 1958 wheat penny with no mint mark has reached current market values as high as $915,000. Not because of hype, not because of speculation, but because of supply and demand at the highest level of the collector market. These coins are hunted by seasoned professionals, auction houses, and private buyers who understand one truth very clearly. Assets like this do not increase in number. They disappear into collections, estates, and vaults. And every year they become harder to find. And before you think, well, I'm sure all the good ones are already gone, let me stop you right there. That belief has cost people millions. Coins like this are still being discovered, not because they're common, but because they're overlooked. Think about it. Who would suspect that a single penny, quietly aging in a coffee can, could outperform stocks, real estate, and retirement accounts combined? That's the irony. And that's the opportunity. Here's a quick reset, because this part matters. If pennies could talk, most would say, I'm worthless. This one whispers, I'm freedom. And freedom doesn't come wrapped in flashy packaging. Comes wrapped in knowledge. The people who win in this space aren't lucky. They're informed. And right now, you're becoming informed. As we move deeper into this story, understand this isn't just about a coin. It's about control. Control over your financial future. Control over opportunities most people never see. Collectors in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s are actively searching for legacy assets. Tangible wealth that can be sold, passed on, or leveraged. And this penny sits at the top tier of that world. Quiet, powerful, respected. Now imagine the moment of discovery. The pause, the second look, the realization that what you're holding is not spare change, but a ticket into an entirely different financial conversation. This is where fear and excitement collide. Fear because you realize how close you may have come to missing it. Excitement because if you have it or find it, you are suddenly playing a very different game. And here's the urgent truth. The market is watching. Demand is rising. Wealthy buyers are actively positioning themselves before prices move higher. Every time one of these pennies surfaces and sells, the remaining ones become more valuable. Time is not neutral here. Time favors those who So what do you do next? You look, you check, you respect every old penny you come across. You understand that wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it waits patiently, trusting that the right person will recognize its value. And if that person is you, the reward is not just money, it's confidence, security, and the satisfaction of knowing you saw what others ignored. Let me leave you with this thought. Most people will finish this video and go back to life as usual. A few will look at their change differently, and an even smaller group will discover something extraordinary. The difference between them isn't luck, it's action. Because somewhere in America right now, a 1958 no-mint mark wheat penny is waiting. And when it's found, it won't just change a collection. It will change a life.